Hey guys, this week we're here at the National Elk Refuge in Jackson Hole, back at this visitor center. I did a field trip here the other day. I don't know if you'll have seen it already. I don't know when I'll release that one. But the kids are gathering from the area here, and we're gonna go on a sleigh ride actually through the elk herd. So I'll film that and talk a little bit about the elk and so forth. So that'll be kind of fun. But this visitor center here is for the greater Yellowstone Basin. We've got some cool sculptures outside here. Here's the town of Jackson Hole. There's ski slopes up there. Here in western Wyoming, this is the visitor center for the Jackson Hole and greater Yellowstone area. They have different organizations represented in here. They've got some cool mounts in here. The elk, an elk herd, a whole herd of elk is mounted in here. Taxidermy. Looks pretty cool, and they've got different things you can see and do in here. So, well, I might film a little in here, but most of it'll be us out on the sleighs going through the elk herds right there with the animals. So it should be kind of fun. The weather's been kind of nasty. Hopefully it's not too bad. All right. So I'm inside the visitor center waiting for the students to show up. And I'll show you this elk herd here.
I think it had changed quite a bit from last year.
So a male elk, a boy elk, when it's a year and a half old, will grow spike horns like this. And he'll be maybe a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, around the same size as its mom, the female elk, the cow elk. And then at 2.5 years old, they'll start to grow these kind of, they call them raghorn bulls. They're smaller horns, but they're bigger than the two spikes. And then when they are about 3.5 to 4.5 to 5.5 years old, they'll grow these huge sets of antlers. They'll really increase in size, and they drop them every year and then regrow them. They drop them February through March usually, and then they regrow them all summer. And when they're growing them in the summer, they're covered in a skin and they have blood vessels in them. And so you can see the contours of where the blood vessels are, and the details and texture there. And then they call it velvet. That skin eventually dies out and the blood drains out of the blood vessels and so forth. And then they rub all that velvet, that skin off, and then that hardened horn is left. And that's what they have all through the fall and into the winter before the antlers fall off. And they just fall right off at the base of their head, and then they eventually start growing back out all summer long. So, kind of cool. So we've got about 17 kids and parents on this trip. We're going to ride this shuttle bus out to the sleigh ride, and then we'll be riding through the elk herd out there. So we're almost ready to head out. Hopefully the snow stays back. It's been snowing in different parts of the state where people drove in from. There's kids from Big Piney and from Star Valley so far. Right here?
Oh, yes, sir. Follow that young man right there.
Okay, so here's the refuge. I'm going to take us out on this sleigh ride with all the kids from Wyoming, some of the parents. We got a draft team here. A couple of draft horses and the sleigh there. And a bunch of YVA students and their parents.
Oh yeah, I broke it 5 places. Right up here. Yeah.
And all the elk are out, scattered out that way to the refuge.
Alright, let's look.
So there's a ton of them out here. They kind of move around depending on where they throw the hay each evening or each day. Up there is the National Wildlife Museum of Art. That was the first field trip we did last October, I think it was.
Alright folks, like I said, just a couple safety things real quick. Please have everyone stay seated while we're in motion, okay? Just a lot of bumps, don't want too much money over, right? And once you do stop to see the elk though, at that point, feel free to stand up. Just get better pictures and views of the animals. Just be aware though, my horses up here in front, they are pretty good at standing, but there's still no parking brake. Martin very much has 2 lines of their own. But every once in a while they make it a little eager, so they dance in the harness and slake the rocks. Forward with that, okay? Cell phone, you can turn those to silent just so we don't disturb the elk with any ringtones you may have. Please don't make any whistling or kissing or clucking noises to get the elk's attention. Gary, moving through this, enough's enough. We need something to change here. So let's just start a national campaign with the federal government to come back in here and to buy back homesteads and to start a national the herd, the cows, or the female elk, right, they're in charge. They're a matriarchal society. And there's a herd or a lead cow that's responsible for anywhere from 10 to 100 head of elk. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of smaller herds within this larger herd. Okay, now across the refuge right now, you could probably say there's roughly 4 large herds. Okay, now that's saying like this herd and that herd over there are all one. Okay, there's 4 herds because there's 4 areas where they feed the elk. There's 4 general areas where the elk stay. Okay, now down there's this group right here, this area. Up the middle of this, here's 2 lines, another area. The way it goes around that, those hills is where the 4th feed ground is. So the elk, even though they're not being fed right now, they go back to those same general areas. What are some other ones, kids? Do you have any other ideas?
I mean, once you start feeding them, could you ever really stop? I guess if you're monitoring the feed, what's on the ground, I guess that's one thing. But
Yeah.
I always wondered about that because, you know, even the feed ground's closer to Piney. You know, their elk always go there. Now they're bunched up, gathered up, and maybe even for predators. You know, it's kind of one of those.
That's the second part. They cause
Yeah.
them to bunch together,
Yeah.
which can encourage the spread of diseases.
Where's their feed come from?
Southeast Idaho is actually where they get the pellets from. You know, so it's not even from Wyoming, funny enough, right?
Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah. So the major pros is the elk don't starve to death, right? And it keeps them separate from the cattle as well as the human populations. Okay. Now the major cons, not natural. It causes them to congregate in higher concentrations, which can encourage diseases, and it's very expensive. Okay? It takes roughly $1 million every year to feed the elk out here. Okay?
Wow.
So 50% comes from the federal government for the feed itself, and that's tax dollars. And then 50% comes from the state government, and that mostly comes from the wild game and fish. There's a lot of like things like that. So, and then all the maintenance and the equipment and the salaries for all the employees come from the federal government. So it's not quite a 50-50 look at total, but as far as the feed itself, it's for this refuge, yep. So the 22,
Yes.
yep. So the other animals are going to eat them, right?
Bears.
Yep. So then if the elk are prey animals because they're eaten, what are the animals called that eat the animals that prey? Predators. Okay. Now what about scavengers? Where do they fit in? In the middle. There you go. So they're not going to go kill their own. They're going to wait till they die and then they're going to go eat it.
They're
Yeah.
called decomposers.
Decomposed as well, yeah. So yeah, the scavengers, the main scavengers out here that we have a possibility of seeing, so everyone kind of keep an eye out for them, are the coyotes, the eagles, and the ravens, okay? They're the ones that are waiting for a few of these elk to die, so they have something to eat out here during the wintertime. So, yeah.
Aren't foxes also?
Yeah, they're scavengers as well, to a certain extent. Yep, they're also going to eat the mice, kind of like the coyotes, okay? So the coyotes and the scavengers, or the coyotes and the foxes, they're going to wait for the elk to die, but then if they don't have any elk dying out here, they're going to eat the mice too. So they're the predators for the mice, but they're the scavengers for the elk, right? Does that get confusing or what, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the coyotes are hungry enough, will they attack an elk?
It does happen every once in a while. You'll see them pack up and maybe take down a calf, but it's not super common. In fact, coyotes, sharp, pointy teeth eat the elk. You think they wouldn't get along very well with the elk? No. But that's actually the front one is the GPS collar. The back one has a number on it. It's like D2 or G8 or something. And so if whoever's looking at her doesn't have the information, they can find that collar and then figure out who collared her and get information from her and things like that. Yep, it's actually a number and a letter to tell them what cow that is. Yeah.
Did you get a picture of that bull? Alright, hold that. Bundle up more into
Where the elk are?
Done hunting.
Good question. So the blizzard, the hardest part about the blizzard would be hard to see the elk, right? But the elk, they really could care less. Okay, notice how the wind out here is so cold to us?
Yeah.
The elk are out here in the middle of the flatland and they're not getting bothered at all, okay? That's because they can stay very, very warm during the wintertime. There's two reasons for that, okay? First of all, their digestive system. We can get more into the digestion here in just a second. But the part with the heat, there's a big chamber in their stomach called the rumen. The food gets in there and there's a whole bunch of bacteria and microbes that break down that food.
Kind of the slope downhill when we're getting there with all.
And then he said there's one natural, there's one wolf pack, on the back side of the refuge with about 11 wolves, and they keep the other wolves out of the area, but they do take down quite a few elk every year. It's just part of the natural ecosystem and cycle of things, so kind of interesting. It's been a fun field trip. Got to get on the bus.
Make sure you get all your devices back in the visitor center where you're making the trip. Thanks again for the ride, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
If anyone else funnels in. So my name is Carrie, and this is Emily and Burple, winter naturalists here at the National Elk Refuge. So we come down here in the winter, and then in the summer we go up to Grand Teton National Park, and we're both park rangers up there. And so what we want to talk about today are some of the cool animals that live out on the refuge and in the valley of Jackson Hole, and how they survive winter. So we brought a bunch of pelts and skulls with that we can all pass around and feel, so that we can talk about that today. So there's three major strategies that animals have for survival. One is adaptation, the other is hibernation, and if we peek back here, we also have migration. So those are the three strategies that animals use to survive winters here. Winters in Jackson Hole are typically pretty harsh and very cold. There's some statistics up here. Record snowfall at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort is 700 inches. Record low in the month of February is negative 48 degrees. So winters can be pretty cold and brutal
I live
here.
somewhere that can get colder.
How much colder?
About 10 or 20 more.
Yeah, the coldest I've seen out here is negative 36 in the 5 winters that I've been here.
We've got below 7.
Below 7. Well,
Yeah,
that's really
springtime.
cold. Oh my goodness.
And it doesn't bother us.
Well, let's talk about how animals adjust.
Guys, I'm here with Emily and Carrie. They're two naturalists and park rangers, right? That's right. And I'm going to ask them a few questions. So maybe tell me where you came from before you ended up here, and how you become a naturalist or park ranger.
Sure. So I originally came from Oklahoma, so I did not grow up anywhere near Wyoming, but my family would actually come out and visit and go camping in this area and in Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks. So I really enjoyed the parks growing up and was a junior ranger and that sort of thing. And then I went to school and studied biology and got my master's degree in biology, and then got an internship with the Park Service after that. And so then I've been switching off between the park and then coming down here to the Elk Refuge for the winter. And so I really enjoy it.
Great. How long have you been here?
This is my 4th season working in Jackson Hole, but actually just my 1st season working at the Elk Refuge.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And so I'm from Indiana, so not anywhere near the beautiful mountains out west. But I grew up being really fascinated about wildlife, watching Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, and being super excited about the idea of being an environmental educator. By the time I got to college, though, I went for a history degree, and so I got a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree in history from Purdue University. And then right after I graduated, I found an internship out west working at a national park in Utah, and the rest is kind of history. I've been doing this for 7 years now, bouncing between Grand Teton National Park and the National Elk Refuge, and it's the best. It's so much fun being out here.
What's your favorite part about being rangers or naturalists?
This is really doing these sort of classroom programs and getting to interact with kids and younger people has really been my favorite part, and getting to see how much they enjoy hearing about the wildlife and being out in these areas too. So that's been my favorite thing to see.
Totally, I agree. Doing programming, especially for school groups that come in, is very exciting and rewarding, and also seeing tons of wildlife out here is exciting, and we're so lucky here in Jackson Hole that we just have the whole suite of animals that we get to see so often, so that's motivating and exciting to have that here.
What's a favorite or an interesting wildlife encounter that you've had?
Ooh, that's a good one.
So my favorite, I studied herpetology in school, and so that is reptiles and amphibians. So you wouldn't think that there's a lot of salamanders out here in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, but whenever it rains, I've even taken Carrie with me, we go and find like 20 salamanders crossing the road, and it's just...
Okay. finish that off, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So we would go out, and on rainy nights, you drive along the highway, and there are like 20 salamanders crossing the roads in different areas. So just going out and helping them cross the road, but just seeing salamanders, which is something sort of unexpected in the greater Yellowstone ecosystem,
Yeah,
is
I would-
always an interesting experience.
I've never even thought about that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. That is definitely one of my favorites. So we do that together in the summertime. One that was really exhilarating for me was I did a hike back in the Absaroka Mountains 2 years ago.
Where's
And,
that?
So the Absarokas are, it's like the mountain range that's on the east side of Yellowstone. So it's the east side of Yellowstone Lake, and kind of knew ahead of time that there was a chance that there would be grizzly bear encounters because it's a known area. And so myself and one other, we were hiking back and had seen all these signs of grizzly bears, like these giant boulders that had been moved around and footprints. And we thought, okay, like we're probably going to see a few. And we started going up to the top of this hike. It goes to the top of this mountain called Frank's Peak. And there were 2 grizzly bears standing about 30 yards in front of us. So we thought, okay, we should probably retreat and move back. And when we moved to this cliffside, we saw 9 grizzly bears on a hillside feeding on army cutworm moths, which is this thing that grizzly bears do is they move up to high elevations in the fall to eat the larvae of these moths. And it was right there. It was the National Geographic moment of my life. It was so cool. I do want to go back with more
awesome.
people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Anything you want to say to the kids?
I would say you guys are growing up in Wyoming. This is just an amazing state with so much to do. Make sure you get out and really enjoy all of the public lands and neat wildlife that you have here because it's a great opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, I second that. We are so lucky and fortunate in Wyoming that we have so many cool animals and we have so much access to the outdoors. So get out and play.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for coming on this field trip, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. Bye.